Quality football was on display last Friday night in Americus. Will this week be the same? We'll talk about it on the next episode of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello and welcome to the live edition of the Integrity Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Estes, live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria in Americus. We're going to bring in our co-host, Scott Westbrook. He is at our satellite offices up in Butler, Georgia tonight. Scott, let me encourage our fans, if you want to come by and have a good meal with us, swing by the Roman Oven. We'll be here for another 35, 40 minutes, and we'd love to have you step in and join us. Our program each week is brought to you by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. I can tell you from personal experience this past week, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal does a great job. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048. or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, we are entering week 10 of the high school football season. We know an awful lot about these teams in our area now, and we know that Sumter County is legit. On the state level, they're legit. They can compete with anybody in their classification. We know that Southland Academy is legit. They have competed hard for the last 6 weeks on a 6-game win streak, and I believe that they have a chance to compete for the GIAA state championship. Schley County, their final 2 games are very, very winnable. They should end up 6-4. with a chance to host a playoff game. So, Scott, this thing is getting fun.
It is. You know, Tim, we can think back to the past few years when we've done this show, and we'd have one of the 3 teams doing well at this time of the season. So occasionally we would have 2 doing well, but rarely, and I don't think ever, we've had all 3 teams knocking on the door of not just playoff appearances, but high-seeded playoff appearances.
Scott, I had the opportunity last Friday night to go over to Finkley Robinson Field and watch the entire Carver-Sumter game. It was a heavyweight fight. These 2 teams, from the opening kickoff to the final buzzer, man, they competed like champions. It's the best high school football I've seen in many years.
You know, I was watching it on the other side of the country a little bit, and I watched it too, and I was like, man, it is pouring down rain. Who is this going to benefit? Well, you know, it was, like you said, it was a heavyweight fight, and there's one thing, Tim, I want to touch base on, and I talked to, one of the fans today, and, you know, there was some predetermined, what was going to be done after the game. It was predetermined that the teams would go their separate ways, you know, because this was a highly charged game, and it was smart on the administrators and the coaches to not have. We've seen, you know, what can happen sometimes at a lot of these high school, pro, or college games after a highly charged game like that. Well, everybody was supposed to kind of go to their respective sidelines, and, you know, Carver did not adhere to those guidelines, and they followed the Sumter County team all the way to their end zone, you know, talking a lot of smack and everything. They won the game 8-7. It wasn't 80-7. They won the game 8-7. And I tell you what, if I was the Carver coach, I'd be pretty upset with that, because there's a good chance these 2 teams are going to see each other again. And when they see each other again, anyway, and well, you know, I'm thinking Carver could lose in the first couple rounds. I don't know, but anyway, but the reality is that right there is going to give Coach Will Rogers something to motivate those young men about, and say, hey, listen, we were that close. We were that close. And even though it was one of the closest, best football game, high school football games either of us, you were live and I was watching it on the TV or laptop or something. But for them to act like that was just a, one-sided victory, or there was a, that they had got some sort of, a big win over Sumter County. That's just not the truth.
That's right. Scott, not to leave these guys out, Southland Academy, they're also legit. They're not only winning, they're winning big every week. They pounded Trinity Christian of Dublin at home last week. This week, they're going to travel over to Robert Toombs Christian, who traditionally has been a power in Class A or Class AA at the GIAA level. We're going to talk more about that. They're 3-5 going into this week. But, man, I can't pick against Southland right now. They're clicking on all cylinders.
Southland definitely has momentum. And that I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I'm assuming you're going to talk about the losses that Robert Toombs has had. They are very deceiving. And we'll, like you said, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Schley County had an open week this past Friday. Scott, they're going to finish the regular season with back-to-back games against teams that right now are winless. Marion County, actually Central of Talbotton this week, and then Marion County on the road next week. If that happens, Schley County will finish 6-4 at the end of the regular season. If everything happens that you and I think will happen, that would make Schley County the number 2 seed in their region, which would mean they would host a playoff game.
That's true. But, Taylor County still has to play Macon County, and I'm friends with a lot of people from both of those counties. And there's a lot of smack talking that going on already amongst the adults on the internet. So you can just imagine if it trickles down to the kids, what can happen. But I haven't chalked that win up for Taylor County and Macon County just quite yet.
Yeah, I talked to somebody this week, actually one of the coaches on the coaching staff at Macon County, and there is a scenario that if Macon County wins and wins by a certain margin, they could win the region.
Yeah, there's just, there's so many Schley County players who've had a great season, and we'll touch base on that a little bit later too. But if I were a Schley County fan, enjoy these last 2 games. Don't take your eye off the prize. Make sure we get them in the W column before we, start making subs and getting some of the younger guys to play. But the reality is this is going to give Coach Alford and his staff and his team an opportunity to get some momentum in the playoffs and get healthy before the playoffs.
So Schley County right now at 4-4, they stand at 3-1 in region play. I want to revisit the Taylor County game, Scott, the week prior to the open game. It came down to exactly what you and I had talked about on this show, the Jimmies and Joes.
Definitely. And like I said, Taylor County has got some, FBS Division I talent on their team this year. And at this level, you and I have seen it many, years in the past at the single A division that Schley plays in. If you've got some Division I talent, that is a difference maker because the other side of the ball, you can only guard so many players. And if they've got 2 players at the skill position, or if they have, like with Taylor County, they've got a lineman that's a D1, is a freshman. He's getting offers from Georgia Tech and FSU and all that kind of stuff. That's a tough hill to climb. But Schley County held their own, kept it close, and I just think that that Schley County is kind of a sleeping giant right now. That Schley County has got some great talented players who are having a great season. Caleb Renfro comes to mind, Jonathan Leggett comes to mind, Amir Nelson comes to mind, Figueroa, Weldon. All those guys are having great games. Right now is a good time for them to kind of tune their instruments a little bit and get ready for the playoffs and show the rest of the state what they've got.
Schley County's region is matched up with Region 2 for the first round of the playoffs. That's the region that right now you've got Clinch County, Brooks County, Charlton. They're 3 heavy, all that are pretty good. If it were to end like we think it will end in Schley County's region, we would most likely match up with Charlton County.
Right. And so that puts Charlton in the 3 seed from that region. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I haven't looked into Charlton to see what they have as far as talent wise and all. they've had some lean years in football. I know when we were playing them a couple of years ago, they made the statement when we asked them, what do y'all have? They said, well, most of our talent's pretty young right now. Well, that young talent's older now, so we'll just have to see what they have and see what our coaches put together.
And, Clinch and Brooks that's two of probably your top 5 teams in the classification right now. So a strong region, absolutely. Ken Gustafson joins us. He just came in. Glad to see Ken. Our show today is brought to you in part by Carter's Fried Chicken. They're located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken, vegetables, and great desserts. They do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken is a supporter of all of our local area teams. Thanks again to Carter's Fried Chicken for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, let's move on to Southland Academy. Now for 6 consecutive weeks, they've just been totally dominant. They're on a 6-game win streak. Their record is 6-2. Every aspect of their football team is performing well.
Oh yeah, Chance Jones has turned things around. The kids are not only playing well, they're motivated. Everything that the fans are into it. I'm sure the gates are nice for the home games, and but they got a pretty formidable opponent this week in Robert Toombs Academy down in Lyons, and they've got some talented players, and like we were talking earlier, their losses are against teams that are pretty good, and their losses are not one-sided.
Absolutely. And Scott, a win tomorrow night by Southland, I think, sets up a huge matchup for the last week of the season as they'll host Southwest Georgia Academy, who's been a perennial power in this classification. Southland will get them at home with a chance to win and be the 2 seed in the state playoffs.
Which would be absolutely incredible. I think nobody predicted that at the first of the season. And I mean, we felt like Southland would improve, but we didn't think they would make the leap that they made this year. The Robert Toombs played Southwest Georgia Academy last week, only lost 16-14, and really had them beat most of the game. But so this is going to be a good test for Southland going on the road, playing down there, and hopefully they'll keep rolling and keep playing strong and keep that wing tee and keep playing strong defense and holding their opponents to 0 or minimal scores like they have recently.
And Scott, just for these Raider fans that are watching, if you want to know a little bit about Robert Toombs, they feature a really good quarterback by the name of Drew Edmonds. Drew's thrown for 10 touchdowns this season. He's also rushed for 11 touchdowns. That accounts for 80% of Robert Toombs' offense. So these guys from Southland need to hone in on Drew, the quarterback for Robert Toombs.
Yeah, and don't think Robert Toombs is looking to get back in the win column this week after losing 2 weeks in a row. They're trying to get ready for their playoff run also. So this is going to be a game that they were really going to want to win. So Southland's going to have to come out of the gate strong tomorrow night, get on them quickly and get control of the game. And, with a wing tee where you're not having to come from behind.
You and I talked before we went on the air tonight. It's kind of a trap game for Southland. You look at Robert Toombs is 3-5 on the season. You're looking ahead to Southwest Georgia Academy next week. I think the old adage, you got to take one day at a time, really rings true here for the Raiders.
And don't get too wrapped up, Southland fans or Southland players, because I know the coaches haven't gotten wrapped up in it. I mean, some of the losses that Robert Toombs has had, they lost to Bullock Academy in overtime, and Bullock Academy is a much larger school. And they lost 38-36. So that tells you they've got the ability to put points on the board, even though they only had 2 touchdowns last week against Southwest Georgia Academy.
Yeah, I went by to eat at Carter's Fried Chicken earlier in the week and got a chance to talk with Mike Shaddles, who most of you know handles the offense for Southland. And Mike said, Tim, we're probably going to have to outscore them. He said they're really good. They're a lot better than their record shows, and we're going to have to play strong defense, and our offense has got to score when we have the ball.
Exactly. See, I think, like we said, the coaches know what you and I know, but a lot of times the kids they don't peel the onion back. They just see the record and think, oh, this might be a cakewalk, but that's therein lies your trap game.
Yeah. Kudos to Chance Jones. You mentioned it earlier, Scott, but Chance is really putting a good season together, and I really believe this thing's got a chance to be special.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And the thing is when I say we, I mean fans in general, not just me and you. We have witnessed in the past few years some pretty impressive turnarounds by some really good coaches in our area. Yeah. Chance Jones has turned around a program that was struggling for a long time and got a whole new excitement over there at Southland. Coach Will Rogers, we've watched him turn that battleship around, and it has this team, on the edge of being in the state championship game if they play in the playoffs like they're supposed to. And Darren Alford, now he has done it and continued to do it. He started a lot longer ago locally than the other two, but he turned around a Schley County program that was abysmal when he took it over. So all three of them are coaches that are have been on an upward trajectory ever since they went to the schools where they are.
I couldn't agree with you more. Maxwell Rating Systems computer ratings have Southland as a 14-point favorite this week. So when you look at the records, that you really think Southland should win bigger than that. But boy, Maxwell's been spot on the last few weeks.
Well, they have, and I just don't want. It's what Nick Saban always said: don't eat or drink the poison. That's what he's talking about. That right there can get in those young men's head and make them believe that all we got to do is show up, and that's not the case.
Yeah. We've got a new sponsor this week, Scott. Want to welcome in Custom Auto Sales. They're located at 907 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Owners Lance and Jessica Sticks. They have been fixing your car for 25 plus years. Now they want to help you buy one. They've added major banks and better financing for every credit situation. You can reach Custom Auto Sales by calling them at 924-5558, or you can check them out online at www.customperformanceauto.com. Thanks again to Custom Auto Sales for sponsoring the Integrity Sports Podcast.
I guess Tim, you picked up that sponsor since Dusty Rhodes is no longer with us, right?
I guess so. I don't know, but absolutely glad to have him. And I'll tell you this: Jessica and I had a conversation in her office this week about how well her son Alan Stick over at Southland Academy has done. He's really run the football well this year.
Yes, I won't be satisfied until I see you on a commercial, though, slapping the hood of a car.
Hey, Jessica, if you're watching this, that sounds like a good idea. Hey, Scott, the Sumter County Panthers, they were 7-0 before the Carver game, now 7-1. Can't say enough about these guys at all. Will Rogers, as you mentioned, has completely turned this program around.
Oh, my goodness. And the game last week, it was everybody, the fans, you and I, this was going to be the signature win. And look, it was 8-7. Now compare and contrast that from when they played Carver last year. This is a team that's on the just that close from getting over that hill. And let's play one game at a time. But when they see Carver again, they're going to remember that post-game activity, and they're going to remember how close they were. And Carver does not scare them nor intimidate them anymore.
Absolutely. One of the biggest Panther fans in town is Marty McDonald. He's the owner of the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs. They can do the famous discount double check to ensure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Give them a call at 928-3686, or you can look them up on Facebook. Thanks again to Marty McDonald State Farm. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Sumter County has played 8 games, Scott. They've only allowed 57 points all season. Their game against Carver last week, 8-7, was such a high-quality football game. Many folks I've talked to that were there describe it as an old-fashioned slobber knocker.
Oh my goodness, yeah, definitely. You were there on site, and I was watching it. But they were playing in a slop bucket though too, with the field and the rain and what they were dealing with. But the stars showed up for Sumter County. The ones that needed to show up did. 8-7 score is not indicative of one team being better than the other. It's just you got one more point than the other team did on that night, and I think it wouldn't surprise me. It's tough because, Sumter County has a much better kicking game than Carver does.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. That rain is unfortunate because that adversely affects the kicking game as anything else. Because when your place kicker wants to get a field goal, kick a field goal, that plant foot is as important as anything. And when you can't plant in that mud, you can't get the leverage and the power to go through the football to kick a field goal. That rain could have affected that game the other night in the field goal arena more than anything else.
You're absolutely right, Scott. The defense for Sumter County is what was so impressive to me. They are huge. They're athletic. They fly to the football. I had a guy from the Naval Academy that was there in the press box with me, and there was a certain play where A.J. Kearse kind of came out of nowhere and planted the Carver running back. And I won't use the flowery language that he used, but he said, "Wow, who is that number 10?" So I got a chance to tell him about AJ, and he said, "Wow, I'm impressed." So AJ, who was with us last week on this podcast, glad to see him continuing to perform well. On the offensive side of the football, the guy that was impressive to me, we've talked about on here before. He's a freshman by the name of Aiden Robinson, and boy, he's coming on strong.
It's funny you said that the Naval Academy. Earlier today, I handed over a few names, and some of them, the ones that you mentioned, and a few others, to the Colorado recruiting department. I sent it to them and said, "Look, these are some young guys. These are some guys that are seniors. These are some guys that are, you can't send them like 30 names, but if you send them about 5 names, they'll put them on the radar. They'll hand it down to the GAs, and they'll say, research and tell me what you can find out about this kid." So, so hopefully the success that some of these local schools are enjoying because of some star players that are really stepping up, hopefully they'll benefit individually in the long run too.
This week, the Panthers are open again. This is their second open date. I don't think it could have come at a better time. That was such a physical game last week. There's got to be a bunch of bruises and bumps that they need to heal up as they get prepared to play their last 2 games. Scott, here's what they've got on tap after the open week. They'll play Hardaway, who going into this week is 0-7. So you expect the Panthers to win that and win it heavily. Their last game of the season normally was an easy game. Columbus High School's been down a long time in football. They're 6-1 right now, so I don't think that's going to be near as easy a win as we may have thought when we first saw the schedule.
Yeah, Columbus has always been known as a baseball school. Football is just, is a distant second or third sport at Columbus, but it seems to be this year they're put together a pretty good team. I don't know who the coach is over there. They've gotten a new coach that has started to turn things around, but it sounds like it's not going to be the cakewalk that it has been in the past.
Here's how much Maxwell Rating Systems thinks of the Panthers, Scott. They took their first loss, but yet they still remain number 7 in the rankings.
Oh yes, if I were ranking, I would rank them higher than that. I mean, when you sit there and you play a team to Carver to a 1-point loss, that's a game, one play on either side could have changed the whole outcome of a game.
Absolutely. I want to say hello to Bill Amos, who's checking in right now. He's watching us online. Glad to have Bill with us. Scott, Sumter County going to take the week off, but there's some games around our area that I want to talk about before we get into predicting Southland and Schley. Crisp County had another loss. They fell to Appling County 29-27 last week. The Cougars will travel to undefeated Pierce County. Pierce is 7-0 right now, and Pierce County is a 21-point favorite.
Yeah, I think this week is a prime example with the point spread. I think next year, Tim, we're going to have to start doing the points on these things. I think Pierce County's probably going to beat Crisp County by more than 14 points. I really do. Pierce County's played good football for years. Crisp County is struggling right now, and I mean, I hate it because we consider them a local team, but I would really love to see them right the ship and have the same, powerhouse football team that we've seen them have in the past.
Lee County is 5-2. They'll travel to Kathleen, Georgia, to take on 2-5 Veterans High School. Maxwell's got Lee County as a 34-point favorite.
Yeah, I think Lee County will probably beat Veterans by 34 at least, because Veterans is the forgotten football program in Houston County. They haven't really figured out how to quite get on the radar over there, but it's tough with the football programs that you've had over there in the past few years, and the way that the school districts are right now. I mean, even Perry, who had struggled for so many years, once they locked down the school districts over there, now Perry's a powerhouse.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw where Dean Fabrizio will be reinstated and be able to coach this week after a 2-week hiatus. So I know that those players and that program will want to perform well with their coach back. Another game, Scott, in our area that I think is kind of interesting, Marion County, 0-7, definitely not a typical Marion County team. They'll travel to Montezuma to take on Macon County, who's 2-5. I'm not sure that Maxwell's got this one right as far as the point spread. They've got Macon County as a 27-point favorite. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think. I mean, Marion, like you say, they've really struggled. You take a team like Macon County. Even though they've got that 2-5 record, you let them get 2 touchdowns up on a team, and they're going to put their foot on the gas. They're going to put the ball in the air. They're going to put it downfield, and they'll take a lot more risk at that point. And I have no reason to believe that, and not to believe that Macon County won't come out and score quick in the first quarter.
And finally, Terrell Academy, they're currently 4-4. They're going to play host to Baconton Charter. Baconton is 1-5. They've got Terrell Academy as a 27-point favorite.
I'm going to agree with that too. I mean, this is a week of boat races. It looks like with the football scores that you've mentioned so far.
Well, and I think as we get into our 2 local area teams that are playing this week, it doesn't change. You got Southland, or rather Schley County, taking on Central of Talbotton. You and I have called many of those games in years past, and it's usually over about 35 seconds after kickoff.
Yes, you're right. You're right. That's true. That's true, Tim.
So they've got 40 slide by 47. I'm sure you're going to agree with that, as I am.
Yeah, it'll be like that. I mean, Darren, Coach Alford, I'm sorry, we'll probably be able to sub and get some of those young guys in there and get some reps early.
Southland Academy travels to Lyons, Georgia, to take on Robert Toombs Christian. The point spread on that is 14. Here's what I want to say about that. I am going to pick Southland to win. They've proven themselves to me. Scott, I'm not going against them right now. They're just on a roll. But, man, the last few games that Maxwell has picked, they've picked close for Southland, and they've been blowing folks out. What do you think about this 14-point spread?
Like I said, of course, I've never been a betting man, but I would not bet against Southland on any game right now. And you can take that for what it's worth, whether they're playing in Lyons or Damascus at this point. I think that they're healthy, they're playing well, they're coached well, the fans are on fire, the team feels that on the field. So I could not bet against them on any game right now.
Scott, as we wrap this thing up tonight, we've had a good night. We've gotten to talk some high school football. One of the things I enjoyed last week, I was up in the press box at Sumter County, and Ken Gustafson is back writing part-time now for the America's Times Recorder as football season is wrapping up. And I got a chance to spend a little time with him. He came in and joined us tonight. So maybe next week we can con Ken into getting on the podcast, or if he's in Columbus, he may be in Columbus on Thursday night next week covering Sumter County. If he is, we'll try to get him on here during the playoffs because Ken's always got a lot of good insight when it comes to our local area high schools.
Ken, even though he's been out of the game for about a year or so, I guarantee you he's picking up right where he left off.
Scott, any final thoughts before we close out tonight?
I just want all our kids to stay healthy. I want the teams to do well and get some momentum going into the playoffs. It looks like of our local teams, Southland's got the tougher of the next few games than the other two. So it looks like that's the ones I'm going to be tuning in and listening to on Friday night to see what's going on.
Who's Colorado got this weekend?
Colorado is off this week, and one of their players who I did not even get a phone call requesting a plane ticket home, but he apparently has tickets to some concert they're having this weekend there that is apparently, some group that I've never heard of, but it's a they're having it at the football stadium or something there. So they're off this week. And then we've got the following week, I believe we have Utah, and it's one of them 10 o'clock at night games. So I'll at least see the first quarter. My roommate, she'll stay up and watch the whole thing, but I can't make it. I can't make those late games. I tell you, it's tough when you're on the even out there, and they start at 8:15, and the people are complaining about that. I said, my body thinks it's 10:15. So there you go.
Well, I'm sure with it being an off week, many of their players have had the opportunity to go home or go visit family. So we normally have a good crowd out at Colorado in the training center watching this podcast. Hopefully they'll be able to catch it on the replay. But we always enjoy having the Colorado Buffaloes with us. Tell us real quick, how's Carson recovering?
It's unbelievable. He had the surgery last Thursday morning. Sunday morning, he was in PT, physical therapy, and they started rolling. He was in the weight room on Monday, and they were wanting him to do bench presses with one arm. And he said, I don't know if because usually he's gung-ho with that. And the training staff said, no, we're not doing any weightlifting just yet. But he's getting PT every single morning at 6 o'clock, and he's getting the movement in it. So, I can't complain the way he's being treated at all. He's being treated like a king out there. So I'm glad of that.
Glad to hear that. We want to wish Carson well as he recovers from that shoulder surgery. Scott, last night I was up in the North Georgia area at a GRPA district banquet. Probably had 3 or 4 folks up there, recreation professionals in that area, that said, hey, we watch your podcast every week. Always enjoy that. So we want to say a special hello to all those folks that are part of GRPA up in that Northwest Georgia area. And I certainly enjoyed being with you last night. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Please go to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button there. We have gained a lot of YouTube subscribers over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but we still haven't reached the 1,000 mark. We want to reach that, so help us get there. Whatever platform you're watching on tonight, make sure and hit the like button and share it with your friends. We'd also, once again, like to thank our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, Custom Auto Sales, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Go out and support your local team this week. If your team's not playing, go support one of our other local area teams. Great to have all 3 of them playing well. For my friend Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.